Good morning, Dr. Duggan. How are you doing today?
I'm doing just fine, thank you.
It is a pleasure having you at the Tooth Factory today to talk to us about how to become successful.
There's a lot involved in that subject.
And we've actually discussed a lot about the 12 keys that you've invented precisely to help students like us and many others like our viewers.
Hmm.
So today
Yeah.
we'll talk about that. But before we do, we need to know who Dr. Michael Duggan is. So if you don't mind, I have a little introduction for you.
Okay, I'll let you know if you get anything wrong.
Thank you. Thank you. Here we go. So hello, my two doctors and doctresses. Welcome to another video at the Tooth Factory. This video is very special to us as we have our special guest, Dr. Michael Duggan, who is an incredible teacher and an incredible coach as well. So today we're going to talk about the 12 keys for effective learning and success in conversation with Dr. Michael Duggan. So in today's lecture, we'll talk about who Dr. Duggan is, the 5 magical questions with Dr. Duggan, and then from his own voice, we'll learn about the 12 keys that he's invented, and then we'll look at how you can contact Dr. Duggan. This is actually the 30th anniversary of Dr. Duggan's guidance for how to truly learn what is important for both academic and clinical excellence. So behold, guys, get your notes out, and here we go. So Dr. Duggan, tell us about yourself.
Well, I started teaching at the age of about 18. When I first went to college, I discovered that somebody that I was working with didn't really understand something, and it was one of my dorm mates. And I figured out, okay, what am I going to do to help him learn? Because he asked me if I would help him since I was a chemistry major and he wasn't. He was a football scholarship, or no, baseball scholarship. So I sat down with him and started teaching him, and he started learning. And I said, wow, that's fun. That's really great. So that's been a long time now.
Wow.
So that's kind of where I got started. I was a chemist for a long, long time. And I taught in chemistry back in the 70s at the university level.
Wow.
I did a lot of research in chemistry for a long time in quite a few different places. And then I decided that it was time to move on and look at a different career.
And that's dentistry.
That's dentistry. I loved working with small things. I loved learning. I loved teaching. I thought I could do some teaching in dentistry as well.
Wow.
I had no idea exactly how that was going to pan out, but it certainly did. And so I started back as a student again. And as I became a student again, having already been a teacher, I figured out that, I have to do something to help myself learn at a level that's going to help me compete with these 25-year-olds. I'm 40, they're 25. I've got 15 years on them, and I'm, not very confident that I can remember stuff as well as those young minds can.
So you invented a method to do so.
It just sort of evolved over the years, and I started doing some things that really helped me a lot. And then I started some study groups when I was in dental school. And in my first year, I got together with some of my classmates and shared some of what I was doing that helped me. And then the school hired me to help the sophomore students review their course material for the National Board Part 1.
Wow.
And so I started doing that, and it kind of all took off from there. That was sort of the academic part of teaching the biological sciences, which I just totally fell in love with, having been a physical scientist for so many years.
Wow.
And then I also started loving the clinical part of it. And once I got through my schooling and took my boards and got licensed, one of my teachers, my former teachers who was not licensed in California, she asked me if I'd help her prepare for her exams, her clinical exams.
Okay.
And I said, yes, I think I will. And I'm happy to do it. And then she met some other people that needed it. And then all of a sudden, I'm flooded with people. And so it was like a snowball rolling downhill from then on. And it's been going on for 30 years now.
30 years. So at the age of 40, you begin dentistry, and 30 years later, now you've taught 6,000 international dentists under your wing.
Kind of hard to imagine, isn't it?
Wow. Well,
I always
absolutely.
hope, I tell my students, when I reflect a little bit on that, I'm always telling my students that, I hope that at some point in their life, something comes along where they can, get a question from somebody, and if they answer yes, then their whole life changes, because it's such, it's a life altering experience. And, if you have some of those in your life, that kind of makes life seem all worthwhile sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. No, I hear the same from my wife, Dr. Kanan Shah, who's actually your student most
Yes.
recently. She's spoken everything, everything highly of you. So I'm very, very, very fortunate to have you on our channel today to talk about your invention there. I just wanted to know that it's not just teaching that you do at the institute, or that you used to do at the university. You have a lot of different branches.
Yeah, I more recently, well, I'm always a teacher, but I started realizing that what I need to be doing is teaching the people that are going to make the biggest difference in the community of dentistry. Because I realized that the dental community is rather broken, the dental provider community. And, I have a lot of different inputs that, lead me to believe that, which I won't necessarily go into. But
For sure.
the thing that'll change it is if I can bring some education, some enlightenment about dentistry to the public, and as well teach more directly to students, not just the ones that are in my office, but everywhere. And so once we got into the pandemic a couple of years ago, when we were locked down for 3 months, I finished something I started many, many years ago, and I converted it into a website called web-dds.org
Yes.
to educate the public as to what dentistry is all about. If somebody wants to know about dentistry, they can get on my website and get some questions answered. There's a lot of different FAQs and a lot of different chapters on different subjects. There's probably 1,100 pages of information on that website. Yeah, I was rolling. I was on a roll. I was really frustrated that I couldn't go in and teach. So
And
I
that's
just put that together.
Oh yeah, that's not just the students. You mean like it's general public to learn about the dental field in their life as well?
Absolutely, because if you go into a dental office and you get a $10,000 treatment plan, how do you know whether that's really something that needs to be done?
That's true.
What can you do to get some more information about it? And so I put that site together, and I'm doing UDEMY courses as well. I have some UDEMY courses specifically for dental students.
Yes.
And some also for the public. The first one I put together for the public was on cosmetic dental bonding.
Yes.
And that's started to become pretty popular, but more emphasis now, while I will continue with the public UDEMY courses, I'm putting more emphasis now on what I can do to help dental students. Again, there's many tens of thousands of dental students around the world that don't have access to somebody's going to push them hard.
Oh yeah.
And that's one thing I've always done. My life has been trying to find things that people do that are wrong, so that I can help them see that and help them improve on their own.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so one of my first offerings on Udemy for the dental students is, okay, how do you know when the preparation that you've done is actually going to last its expected lifetime? Because that's the goal.
That's right.
Success in dentistry is you do something on a patient that lasts its expected lifetime, however long that is, whether it's amalgam or composite or porcelain or gold. There's a certain period of time it should last. If it lasts anything less than that, you failed.
Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely.
And it might just take one little thing in a prep that will compromise the lifetime. And that's what students need to see. That's what they need to look for. And that's what dentists need to see and look for as well.
Yes.
So anyway, I will be talking about that quite a bit on my, the first Udemy course I did was just on evaluating class twos.
Yes.
So yeah, there's a lot to offer on that particular.
The end of the lecture today, I've got a couple slides prepared to explain your course's venture as well to the public and how to reach you at the course and what they
Yeah.
can benefit, what the upcoming courses are as well.
Yeah, the other thing that struck me is that healthcare in general, and when I realized that dentistry is hurting in a lot of ways, and including just the respect in which we're held, and there may be some good reasons for not having such good respect. But healthcare in general has a problem, and the more people I talk to, the more I realize, okay, what can we do to educate the public a little bit more about the healthcare system? So I did a series of YouTube videos. There are, I think I've posted 17 of them. There are a total of 21 altogether.
Yes.
If that picks up a little bit, people start noticing it, and paying some attention, because a lot of people need to know about the healthcare system, and they need to know what they can do
Yes.
about it for their own personal well-being, and that might even help other people. And so I'm laying that whole thing out. But the first parts of it are, who are all the people that are invested in the healthcare system? Who are all the people that profit from your illness?
Oh, yeah. The profit being the key word.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people in a lot of different industries that profit from your illness. I lay it all out,
Yes.
and it's all a matter of getting the perspective on what you are immersed in, the system that you are immersed in, and how you can, if you get that perspective, you might be able to make a change. You might be able to actually speak up and get something done. So that's what the whole emphasis of that is about. And then I also, I'm watching what's happening in the world today, and I realize that so many people are making decisions and have beliefs based solely on who's talking the loudest.
Yes, that's true.
And it started to get me angry. And so I thought, okay, let's just deal with the subject of, what's true. And so I did a series of YouTube videos. I just had a blast. I just started writing them, and I just sort of started venting myself, but I organized this out a bit, and I think I posted 5 of those so far, and I've got, I think,
I'll
10 or
have the
12
link
more.
in the description box below for our viewers. It's worth a watch. It basically lets us know the soul and body of our healthcare system and how we should decide.
Yeah, well, the healthcare system is one thing, but when somebody says something about, if you're about, just the way people are in the world,
Yeah.
People believe a lot of strange things. And, if you really want to know, if you really want to find the truth about anything, whether it's a healthcare system or something else, what do you do? How do you approach it? So, I've outlined about a dozen different just topics, and, what does it take within that topic to ask the right questions,
Yes.
and to be able to determine whether you're actually getting an answer that has some chance of actually being true. So I'm hoping that picks up as well. I'm getting a point in my life where I do want to make a difference, and I want to make a difference as globally as possible.
Yes.
And so I'm trying various approaches to get out there and reach out to as many people as I can. But, of course, my primary field of expertise at this point is dentistry.
Yes.
But life does go a lot farther beyond that too.
Dr. Duggan, from your purpose and our perspective, Tooth Factory is willing to do the same from bases onwards, and we follow your footsteps, is how you're using your 12 keys to prepare your students into coming into the real world, and then
Right.
educating the real world dentists as to what's important, how to ignore the ruthless profit and actually imbibe the real service to community. And then you're also educating the patients, the consumer aspects of dentistry as well. And I really, really see that as an inspiration. You're already making a difference.
Well, thank you very much for that. I tell my students a lot of times at the beginning of every course I teach, I tell my students that if you want to finish this course and have learned anything, if you want to finish this course and take something away with you that won't evaporate in the airplane on the way home, concentrate on making sure that things make sense.
Yes.
If it makes sense, if it really makes sense, and if you really are self-honest and look at it enough and in ways that I described in the 12 keys, to the point where you get it, it makes sense, then you've got it for the rest of your life. I've worked with people that have been practicing dentistry for 25 years that never quite got it.
That's true.
And 25 years later, you know, the best of those people feels bad because they feel unhappy because there's something about their life that's not right. And, you know, they might realize if they look into it, they might realize that it's because they don't really understand if they're doing good dentistry or not. And they never really got it. It never really made sense.
That's
If it does make sense, then you've got it for a lifetime.
Well, I was speaking to Canon when she came back, and she says there's a difference between knowing how to craft a cavity and it making sense why it's the way it is.
Yeah.
And that's what she learned at your class.
Yeah.
That's true. That if you're in the real world, you make a cavity, they're not all textbook. So if, for example, it makes sense that this class 2 in this patient is precise, then the survival rates, like you said, will exceed its lifetime.
Yeah, and I tell my students that doing good dentistry is about 3 things, and I liken it to the legs of a piano stool.
Yeah.
One of it is just understanding how we design preparations the way that we do. What's the principle upon which we design them to take care of the problems with the tooth? And the second leg of the stool is, you know, how do we go about doing it? And one of my next UDEMY lectures is going to be, okay, how do you know that you're seeing what you need to while you're doing it? It's all about looking in the right direction so you see what you need to see. That's the key to doing it well. And the third step is, the third leg of the stool is, can you look at it and determine whether it actually will work? Will it actually succeed? Is there something wrong that needs to be fixed? So that's sort of the embodiment of what I teach all the time. And with those 3 things in dentistry, you've got it. You can do what people needs and you can satisfy their long-term needs, and you as a practitioner can sleep at night for many, many years to come.
That's true. And that's why you call it not just restorative dentistry course, it's the fundamentals of restorative dentistry course. So that's incredible. And again, to learn all of that, it's important to have a right method. And I understand you being the author of the 12 keys. It's a stepwise manner to master the skills that are in front of you.
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect.
Any program that you're into, there's a way to get the most out of it. And, you know, I was in a program at a certain point in my life when I was 40, and, you know, I had to get a lot out of it. I had to get a lot out of it efficiently. And things had to make sense to me. And I did what I had to do to have them make sense, you know, in real life. And, you know, that can be applied to anybody.
Yes. So without much ado, we can definitely get into the 12 keys to help our viewers get mastery of their skills.
For sure.
So here are the 12 keys. So Dr. Duggan, please go ahead and help us understand the sequential manner, and then we'll take a look at them one by one.
Okay. Yeah, certainly. And of course, what I wrote about the 12 keys is going to be available on your site too, I believe.
Yes, absolutely.
So everything written out. So that's described pretty well. So we can do something kind of you know, cursory right now, just to get a little bit of an idea. On my UDEMY course for the 12 keys, it will bring them alive. And I'll be showing some things that I did and so forth. Anyway,
Yes.
So you've got to know the educational program. You have to know what the challenges are going to be. You have to be able to see what's coming so that you can prepare for that. You've got to be motivated and interested. Motivation is one thing, which is not necessarily the same as interest. A lot of things can motivate you. And again, I'll illustrate these and list them in my Udemy course, but interest is something else again. Do you have a passion for the material? Is it something that fascinates you? Is it something that drives you forward? I worked with a few people that are motivated to learn from me, but just didn't have the interest. They're usually pushed by somebody else, and they didn't have that interest, and that was very, very limiting. Okay, and then studying the material is, you've got to do it actively. And I'll talk about how to do that. It's not just reading books.
Yes.
You've got to get a sense that you really understand it, that it makes sense. And one of the things is you had a great slide about Einstein saying that if you think you know something, try teaching it to a 6-year-old. If they don't get it, then you don't know it.
We'll
Which is perfect.
Yeah.
It's exactly what I've said for a few decades now.
Yeah.
So try teaching it to somebody, and I counsel my students to do this all the time. And you'll find out that you don't know it as well as you thought. If they have that dumb look, then okay, you didn't know it, and they'll tell you. So, and then no one resource is going to serve to teach you.
That's right.
I learn differently from different books. Some books communicate with you, some books don't. So put together a number of different resources. Don't depend on just one. Study, meaning don't just read it. Actively pursue information from the materials you've put together.
Yes.
The big picture, okay, that's pretty obvious, but so many people miss the big picture because they get stuck in the details.
Yes.
So assemble the basic lay of the land first, get to know the forest. That sort of goes back to the educational program part of it too. But see how all the information that you want to learn fits together. And then when you create that space in your brain to fit it, then you get the pieces that you fit into those particular spaces. So the big picture is really important. And then organizing time and information. Organizing the information, obviously, is still a matter of, how does it relate? Making associations. Yes. And start putting your time together in a way that's efficient. Know what you need to do. And so the next one is set your goal, but you've got to organize your time so that you can set a goal and achieve it in the given amount of time. So when I was in dental school, I'd go to sleep at night, having already laid out the room for me to study the next morning, have a specific goal in mind. This is what I want to accomplish. And I had that in my mind when I went to sleep. So when I got up in the morning, I'm ready to rock. I had something set. When you wake up in the morning and you start reading in a book, you fall asleep. Yeah. When you have something that you're trying to accomplish and some goal that you have in mind, you can get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I think most people can, even those that aren't morning people. I think if you have something that you really want to do, you have a passion for doing it, and you have an interest for doing it, and you have a goal set out, and you have something that you want to accomplish, and you're determined to do it, 3 o'clock in the morning, you're wide awake and bushy-eyed. Okay. So that's the time and information. Setting specific goal, of course, the goals have to do with memory maps, for example. Yes. Make a map or a drawing or some sort of representation that proves that you understand something. So use your multiple resources, study those actively, take pieces out of them in ways I'll describe in more detail in another venue. Yes. And then do a drawing, do some sort of representation of how the information that you studied relates, the associations between different different types of information, and put that into a map, draw it out, draw pictures, whatever it needs to do. Don't make a list of information. You can't memorize that. Make a map that connects things together, because the connections, the associations are much easier to remember. And then when you make one of those maps, the next morning, take a blank piece of paper and reproduce it from memory without reviewing.
Test
And
it.
try that for a few days, and it will get into your long-term memory.
That's right.
And then put it aside into a folder with a nice plastic sheets and protect it, because that's you a lot of work for it, and that's what is going to help you later on. In fact, you know, in the future, when I took my Part 1 national boards, I'd already been reviewing the students for a while, but I already had all these maps that I had drawn out, all these resources, and that's all I studied to do the Part 1 national boards.
That's right.
And so that worked out great. And so, you know, the 11th part, seeking friendly competition, is the only part that's really not necessary, but it is still helpful when you have another person that's similarly motivated, similarly passionate, to feed off each other. And I had that when I was in college for a while, and that really helped me a lot, you know, just because we boosted each other because of our mutual enthusiasm. So you can do that if you're lucky enough to find somebody like that, but everything else, all the other keys, basically you can just do for yourself. And then no matter what comes up later in your life, when you have this collection of information, these maps that you've put together, you know, this physical document that you've assembled that allows you to teach yourself again. When you learn something, now you create a piece of material that teaches you again somewhat further down the road. I could probably go back now after 32 years, 33 years, and learn biochemistry as well as I did by going back and looking at all my biochemistry memory maps. It probably wouldn't take me more than a few days. So
that's the 12 keys, eh?
that's the 12 keys. Yep.
Perfect. And then that's how you plan your future, to be concise and precise at the same time.
That's it.
Perfect. And in the following elaboration of all of these, we have several different quotes that we went through that I will go through with my viewers here.
Okay.
And I've also mentioned your famous quote there, that a mastery of all should guarantee success.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. And again, you said know the programs, eh? So the power is, you always tell me this, is the knowledge is the power to achievement.
Absolutely. If things make sense, then you've got the power.
For sure.
If you're not sure,
it becomes difficult.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen. If you're familiar with some information, you don't know it. You know, familiarity is not enough. It's got to make sense, and then you've got the power, and you can do anything you want with that.
For sure. And like you said, passion is a little different as compared to interest.
Yes, indeed.
Motivation, yeah. And that, like you said, an investment in knowledge pays back in best interest, and interest in passion for learning will make you grow. Yes, absolutely. And here's your favorite quote from Albert Einstein.
There he is.
It's a study, not just read. Eh? I mean, you wanted to teach others, especially somebody younger who is not capable of learning, and all of a sudden they understand. Then you've actually understood yourself.
Yes, indeed. 6-year-old, go for it.
Oh, this one from Fran, it says that you have to open up to several different sources of information. Otherwise, you haven't really seen it, read it, or heard it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is where your number one mechanism comes in. Reading is easy, but grasping is very difficult. So we got to fight that. We need to answer by questioning the answers. That's the best way, I guess, eh?
Absolutely.
And the big picture. Number 6 being the big picture, right in the middle of your entire process of 12 keys, we can recall that we're all doing this so that something bigger is on its way rather than just clearing an exam or getting an admission. It's the big picture that you
Yeah,
want to
let's
see.
stay on this slide for a second, because if you just glance at it, some of your viewers might be glancing at it, and it looks like, if you're just take it in spontaneously, the trick to getting the big picture is to look at everything close up, which is the opposite meaning. It says the trick to forgetting the big
That's
picture is to look at everything close up. So yeah, when you're studying any subject, if you start by just zooming in on one little part of it without knowing how it fits together with everything else, you're going to lose it.
That's right. I couldn't agree more. And again, time organization, it's if you respect time, time respects you is your lesson from the 12 keys as well.
Yes.
Otherwise, you wake up, like you said, as a not so morning person and
For sure.
and setting specific goals. I read somewhere, and I believe you said the same thing to me earlier, was dreams without goals are limited to just nighttime, basically just dreams, and goals are more important. You have to exceed your own expectations, I believe. You know, after reading your 12 keys, these are all actually, like you say, making sense.
Yes.
Especially with memory maps, that it's better to visualize what we learn, basically flow charts, or when you make notes and diagrams, charts or abbreviations and so on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, anything that emphasizes the association between information, how one piece of information, one concept, relates to another, how they build together to form the whole of something. It's the whole. That's the big picture.
That's correct.
And everything builds to make that. There's a knowledge base which builds to give the whole thing. And if you get the whole thing, then you have a successful career, among other things.
Absolutely. And then testing yourself. A very famous author, Paulo Coelho, said that repetition is literally the only way to become intuitive. The only way to learn. There is no other way around it.
Well, that's like when you take that, try to create a memory map from memory.
Yes.
And put it down. That mode of testing yourself. And again, people learn in different ways, but in dentistry, you'd think a lot of people would learn visually. I'm an extreme visual learner. Yes. I know people that learn kinesthetically. They learn more through movement than any other way. But a visual learner, anything that you could do to represent things in their physical relationships, represent subject relationships, represent conceptual relationships with physical relationships. Yes. And then reproduce those and repeat those and get them into your long-term memory. That's what it's all about. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more, sir. And then you said friendly competition, not just competition. You want to be able to inspire you along the way. Yeah, being challenged in a friendly way is always a good thing. I like to think that I do that with my students. I think I have students because they realize I'm basically friendly about it, but I challenge them in a pretty extreme way. Yeah, I've heard so. Hear that from Canada. Yes. Yeah, but it's all friendly. It's all for the common good. Absolutely. And here's one of my most famous and my favorite motivational speakers out there, Jim Rohn. I love how he says that for planning the future should be the reason why we do what we do today. Yes. Visualizing your future, visualizing what it is that you want to be true for you in your future. Yes. And not just rely on your past. Yes. Is something that I go through in my life every day, every morning. I start my day with that whole thought. How do I want to be in the future? Yes. That was an amazing lecture.
to let us know what's important and how to step by step achieve, like 12 grades in a school is 12 keys. Right. Um,
No, I'm not sure if that was a lecture. That was just sort of painting the picture anyway.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? You're right, because the lecture is available on your Udemy website, which is in the link description box below. When our viewers want to come and attend your seminar on how to be successful.
Sure.
Also, talking about success, I just had a question: is what is the one quality that students like us should have in order to get the drive to be successful, and it also help you pass, not just studying day and night? What is that one thing that can add the charm?
Well, first of all, you have to decide what success is. Okay. And, for this, we could kind of break it down into two basic categories. In terms of students, you want to pass exams, you want to develop certain skills. And the one attribute that that helps you the most when you're in that phase of your training, of your career development, is self-honesty. You've got to know when you don't know, and know when you know when you can do and know when you can't do.
That's right.
If you don't know that you're not doing it well, then how are you supposed to get better? If you don't know that you don't know enough information, if you don't know that things don't make sense, how are you supposed to do the work that it takes before they do make sense?
I agree. Absolutely.
Self-honesty is a pretty big one. The other thing is, when success in patient treatment, we could talk about, business success and, having a good office that runs well and things like that. But basically, the only reason those offices exist is because, we have the job of providing good care to our patients. That's why we have our career. That's why we have our business and so forth. And so the one quality that I think that is the most valuable for us to provide good care to our patients is empathy.
Empathy.
If we don't have a personal stake, if we don't get what our patients are going through personally within ourselves, then how do we expect to be able to treat other people the way they should be treated? I oftentimes tell my students, you need to be treating your patients as if they were all your little sister. Okay. Your kid sister, whatever, your wife, your spouse, your husband, think of them in that way, or just think of, can you associate? Can you visualize yourself in the dental chair being treated the way you're treating somebody else?
That's right.
And so if you've been through, I also tell my students, go out and get some dentistry done, whether you need it or not. Get in a dental chair and, get a crown prep, get a root canal, just whatever. After you get all that done, have it taken out, put an implant, get a crown on it, and see what it feels like. And, maybe have a few different dentists do that. You'll be truly able to empathize with your patients. And that's how you're going to provide the kind of care that your patients deserve.
I wish empathy was a part of those code of ethics by ADA too.
Yeah, well, it's sort of, subliminally in there somewhere, but I think a lot of dentists don't get it.
Absolutely. Now that actually brings us to the actual dental field, the truth about it. And we hear this a lot that, oh, you're becoming a dentist. That means you're going to be making a lot of money. And that's it. That's the perception. And I believe we as dentists as a whole, we've actually bought that idea.
Yeah.
So what is the truth in your opinion, and how can we change it back to the purpose-oriented practice?
I love that question. Yeah, unfortunately, I have made a lot of observations about the field of dentistry right now. But I also observe students. And one of the things that makes it hard for students to get into the field of dentistry is money.
That's true.
I ask my students, how much are you going to owe when you finish dental school? And, it's gone from 300 to 375,000 now in the last course.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, that's tough to start paying back. And the financial system doesn't make it easy to pay that back. And so, you know, we're tempted, you know, everybody, if they're honest with themselves, will admit that they're tempted to compromise.
Yes.
And especially when you get into an office that's all about compromise. How are you supposed to, you know, really do things the way they should be done?
Yes.
You know, and again, you know, realize that you can do things the way they should be done very quickly, you know, if you've trained yourself well, if you really get it. But, you know, a lot of people, you know, they feel as though they have to cut corners in order to do things faster, to make more money, to pay back their loans and so forth. That's not necessarily the case, but you have to have the right mindset in order to get into that. The thing is also that when dental students graduate dental school, you know, not only do they owe a lot of money, but they're not confident. They're not confident about their ability to do dentistry. That's by far the most common thing these days. The vast majority of dental students don't graduate with confidence. That doesn't mean you can't graduate with confidence, but there are things you have to do to make that happen. And I address that actually on my web-dds.org website, the section that's for dental students.
Yes.
I address specifically that. Here's what you need to do to graduate dental school with confidence. Now, doing that, and you get out into the private practice situation, if you get into the right situation, and you know, can practice efficiently and well and serve your patients well and everything like that, that's just great. But the majority of dentists don't do that. And all you have to do is go to a dental lab and look at the cases. Yes. That's all you have to do in order to see how dentistry is being done out in the community. And I did that a year ago because I was making some videos for a school to help them calibrate their incoming faculty. Okay. And I made this series of videos, and one of them is, okay, here's some video images of lots of impressions and lots of dyes. And, you know, what would you tell your student about these? Okay. And I still have about 50 impressions that I retained from when I was teaching in dental school that are rejected impressions. Every one of those rejected impressions done by dental students was better, way better, more usable than every one of the impressions I saw that the practitioners are sending to dental labs right now.
And these are licensed dentists out there.
They're licensed practicing dentists. Oh, so, you know, the only conclusion I could come to is that they actually don't care. That blew my mind. And the only way that that's going to change is not through educating them, is through educating the public and educating dental students. The public can put the pressure on the community. The dental students can come into the community with a better perspective and knowing a little bit more about how they can do things and what's really the priority. Yes. And that, you know, when they, you know, work with a patient and do something to solve a patient's problems, you know, that's what it's all about. And if they learn enough dentistry, if they get it, yes, then they can do that quickly and efficiently and make all the money they need to make. But it's the people that don't understand the dentistry that cut corners in order to save time, and they don't even save as much time as you can by just learning how to do it efficiently. That's right. But, you know, and then it doesn't last the patient very long. But then again, maybe that's part of the goal too. If it doesn't last the patient, if the composite class 2 doesn't last the patient more than 5 years, then in 5 years they can make the money again. That's right. How about that? Instead of having to wait 15 years before they do it again. Okay, so where's the thinking here? I can relate to that actually. Because, when I started off with dentistry studying, and the whole concept of being a dentist out in the world was never to begin with by helping somebody. Like that purpose was never there. It was glorified, the richness and the whole shiny aspect of dentistry. But as I came to know, I realized there's so much that needs to be worked on. And that led to my wife and I, Canon and I, to open to tooth factory, especially in the middle of COVID.
when we knew that international dentists like myself, her, and many other out there need guidance, not just academic, but actual career coaching and motivation, just like what you've done with 12 Keys. And
Absolutely.
when we came to know that Dr. Duggan's got an institute that he teaches in, that he's got 12 Keys, or he's got Udemy courses and the YouTube channel, that covers all squares. That's students, dentists, public, and little uprising businesses like ourselves that help others carry your legacy, per se. So that brings me to the last question, sir, for today is, how can dentists and companies like us, the Tooth Factory, can we help contribute to the purpose you're talking about? We went through empathy, then we went to acceptance of the flaws, but how can we as Tooth Factory help the public even more?
Well, certainly you can be a lot of help to the dental community and within the learning dental community, and students and international dentists and so forth that are coming to Canada, the US to study.
Yes.
But you know what you can do, of course, is help guide these students, guide these practitioners, guide those people that are taking that next step,
Yes,
to know what they need to do, you know, what active steps do they need to take, and guide them to resources that they have that'll help them. There are a lot of resources out there.
such as your
Resources that'll help them learn effectively.
yes,
Resources that'll even help them, you know, get more clinical experience when they go back to school. You know, is there something that can guide you? You can guide them to my website. I can talk about specifically what they need to do
yes,
to get more clinical experience in dental school. And, you know, how do you find a tough teacher in dental school? How do you find a teacher that is going to really drive you to excellence? And, you know, the answer to that question is real simple. Find the teacher that nobody wants to go to.
That's true.
Right? Find the teacher that won't sign that paper saying that you've completed something until you've really and truly got what you need to out of it.
Oh, yes.
That respects their own signature.
That's right.
That's the person you're looking for. And you can guide people. Your websites, you know, people that really want to learn, that really want to establish a career that's really meaningful.
Yes.
You can guide them in all kinds of ways that are going to help them with that.
For sure.
Know the consequences. You can help them find resources that'll help them know the consequences of doing something in a patient that's not as good as it should be. What are the consequences to the patient? Okay. And, you know, is there anything that is more critical than that?
That's true. I agree.
And I once had, I've referred to this gentleman a number of different times, but I once had a guy that had been practicing for 25 years, and I was working with him, and he wasn't happy. And it turned out he wasn't happy because he didn't know if he was doing good dentistry or not. He just didn't know. And somewhere inside him, he felt bad about it. You know, but he didn't know why he felt bad. And then he started taking my course and working with me, and we're starting to learn how to determine whether that prep's going to work or not. And then he started realizing, wait a minute, you know, and he's still practicing, you know, day by day. I get together with him every weekend, and he's practicing throughout the entire week. And he comes to the conclusion after a short time. He says, now I understand why this prep works in it or it doesn't work. And now I know I'm doing good dentistry for my patients. And now I'm feeling great. And it just changed his whole life around. And, you know, that's the kind of thing that you can guide people towards.
Absolutely. We will definitely guide them to your Udemy courses, your YouTube channel, the website, because from
anything else.
Oh, and anything else.
There's a lot of things out there. But you know, the goal is, of course, to have a career that's fulfilling.
Yes.
I mean, what could be more than that? And you know, I mean, that's sort of the bottom line as to what success is. If you have a career that's fulfilling,
yes,
and you as a site, as your fledgling company can guide people, then you can take them toward a fulfilling career. And you have a lot of different things that you've done that take people in that direction, not just resources, but things that you've created that can take them. things from your experience that helps them take that next step and
Absolutely.
take it in a truly effective way. So, you know, I oftentimes wear a hat and I would take it off to you and say, my hat's off to you.
Oh, thank you,
I'm
sir.
just not having to wear one right now.
No,
But
no, it
it's
means a lot.
metaphorically, my hat is off to you.
Thank you so very much, sir. Well, it was a pleasure having you today. And those were the 5 questions with Dr. Michael Duggan himself. And hope we learned something great today. For more detailed content, personalized content towards your success, the more elaboration of the 12 keys, please visit the links in the description box below. And Dr. Michael Duggan should definitely be available to guide you. Thank you very much, Dr. Duggan, for being with us today. And before you leave us,
I
I
hope everybody, I hope all of your listeners have, you know, got a new step forward.
100%, sir. So after you leave, I will be explaining your Udemy upcoming courses and sharing the links as well.
All right. Good luck to everybody.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, here is how you can contact Dr. Michael Duggan. His email on his website is duggan@web-dds.org. And it's regarding questions and observations and studying and knowing how dentistry can and should be done and so on. Everything is involved on that website, and you can definitely learn from his YouTube channel. We have the QR code on the website present on the left-hand side bottom corner, and the Udemy Courses QR code on the website on the right-hand side. And speaking of his Udemy courses, I do want to talk to you guys about his upcoming courses. You can find with the QR code here, the website on the previous slide. The description box also has those details. His upcoming courses are on how to evaluate a ceramic crown preparation for anterior teeth, how to find errors that will shorten the lifespan of restoration, so to make a better restoration. He's also coming up with explaining what fillings are and what are their choices. So this is more generally for the public as to what to expect when you go home, when you go to the dental practice. And then, of course, the 12 keys we talked about today, addressing every step of the way with examples and more personal touch. This is very important, guys, because it helps us understand the true purpose of our callings and how we can approach them step by step without involving day and night studying and not getting the results. But if you follow those 12 keys, you're guaranteed success. And the future courses that he's planning are how dental students or those preparing at home for hands-on exam can practice on mannequins. How can mannequin practice be done? The importance of not just practicing on a handheld typhodont, because the angles are always different. It's better to mount it like an exam scenario or patient scenario. And of course, how to make a cheap mannequin for less than $30. We all have these issues that for any bench exam presentations or preparations, we always worry, where are we going to mount it? Where's the kit going to come from? And Dr. Duggan will show us how to make a cheap mannequin at home under less than $30. And then last but not the least, why it is critical to work in all 4 quadrants of dentistry and not just focus on your strengths, but also your weaknesses in restorative dentistry. So absolutely, please do contact him via his website. And thank you everyone for staying with us for so long and staying put and listening to us. I really hope it's given you a new insight on purpose of dentistry rather than just needing to get through the checkpoint, and more importantly, why it's important. So with such motivation, we'll call it a day today. You guys have a great day and stay in touch. Please like, share, and subscribe to the Tooth Factory.